Hello everybody and welcome back to the British Pokemon League show. It is week number 3 and already feels like so much has happened and it's only week 3. It's crazy. I think now that there's a championship show going on as well, it's hard to keep up in my head with everything going on, but if there's just so much Pokemon left to play, guys, you don't even realize. Anyway, yeah, we're still the early stage of the season, but there's definitely some early front runners making themselves known. Some that you would expect, some maybe not so much going into the pre-season. But it's still such early days that it's so hard to call. We, of course, in 2 weeks' time, do have the sort of mid-season break and free agency period begins, and that's kind of where things ramp up a bit and we get into that sort of business end of the season where the wins really do become important. But this early stage of the season, people are still figuring each other out, figuring out the team, so it's still all very, very exciting and all very new. And of course, having all these new players as well is just adds the extra little bit of spice on top of everything. But let's take a quick look at the league table going into week number 3. So Miami Heat and Inglorious Surfers and the Welsh Warriors all sit atop that top 3, all unbeaten thus far, all with 2-0 records. Of course, the only blemish on Matrix's Welsh Warriors record is that 2-1 win over Dave in week number 1. Of course, speaking of Dave, he is in the lofty heights of 4th place, this Newcastle Thundurus team, after getting that win over Kirky's Tendo Melmetals last week. Also followed behind by the South Croydon Saurs, obviously losing out to the Crimmet Colossals, and then the Bully Boys, Long Island Goomys, Shadow Kings, and the aforementioned Crimmet Colossals following along behind from 6th to 9th place, all on that 1-1 record. And down there at the bottom, all still searching for their first victory, it is the Tendo Melmetals, Swindon Rookidees, and Space City PC. Space City PC making an uncharacteristically bad start to the season, so they'll be looking to try and bounce back. And of course, the Rookidees and Melmetals with a similar mountain to climb. This is the sort of the time to get these bad games out of the way, but also you don't want to let it, domino effect too hard. Because you leave yourself with too much left to do in the late season, and it makes it all so much harder. We kind of worked out that last season, that was the first season we had that format of 11 games with no reverse fixtures and obviously the 11 games, and we sort of figured out that you needed roughly between 5 and 6 wins to make playoffs, 6 to be completely sure. So you start losing too much early on, especially before the mid-season, you leave yourself with such a mountain to climb. Dave did. I'm sure I said Dave beat Kirky. He beat the Tendo Melmetals. That's Kirky, right? Anyway, onto the schedule for this week. Kicking things off with tonight's show, it is the Long Island Goomys taking on Newcastle Thundurus. Of course, last season, these two unfortunately didn't get a chance to play. Just sort of ran out of time, schedules didn't line up. So it'll be exciting to see these two go head-to-head for the first time since Season 1. Exciting stuff. Then, next up, we've got the Tendo Melmetals versus South Croydon Saurs. Both looking for wins this week after losing out in week 2. Then it is Space City PC taking on the Crimmet Colossals. First time meeting for a lot of these teams, that's them two included. So Dave making a strong start to life in the British Pokemon League and beating out Crizzle South Croydon Saurs last week. So really stamping the authority down there. Then it is the Bully Boys taking on the Shadow Kings. A lot of history between these two, going all the way back to Season 1. So another exciting meeting between these two minds. And then it is the Miami Heat taking on the Welsh Warriors. It is first versus third. Both unbeaten. An unbeaten record is going to go the journey after this week, so it'll be exciting to see that one go down. And finally, rounding out the week's matches, this is Swindon Rookidees taking on the Inglorious. Before we get into this week, I do want to let everyone know that sadly this is Draco's last week of games. Unfortunately, due to personal reasons and health issues, Draco will be dropping from the league after this week. It's not a permanent thing. He is assured that he will be back in the future, and of course we do wish him all the best, and hopefully can recover properly, and we'll hopefully see him back in season number 5. But it's been an absolute pleasure and a treat to have this guy on board since season 2. Has had some really special moments here in the British Pokemon League. Who can forget that unbeaten run in Season 2 in the regular season. It will go down. And of course, the recovery to come back from almost certain relegation to make it to playoffs last season was, you know, again, a very, very special moment and showed why he is such a talented player. And we do look forward to having him back in the near future. Well, all the best, Draco. We'll give you an update on the British Pokemon Championship, the British Pokemon League Championship show in the future as well. But for now, let's focus on the Premier Division. And going into our first game, it is the Long Island Goomys taking on the Newcastle Thundurus. So, Dave with a really huge win over Kirky last week and those Tendo Melmetals. Yeah, indeed, Mail really put in the work with those expanding forces, making use of that psychic terrain, along with the dazzling gleams and the mystical fires. You know, just them stat drops proving to be so huge. And Dave really getting the very best out of these Pokemon. You know, you've got to say when Dave learns the sort of ins and outs of a Pokemon, he's just managed to squeeze every ounce of goodness, you know, out of their abilities, out of their moves. Of course, you know, he's a master at using the Incin and Lando T duo, and of course Ferrothorn as well. So, you know, them four make for a very scary opposition. And, you know, as we saw last week, that Jumpluff, which, you know, he had last season, and we didn't really ever see him use it. So I was a bit surprised to see him pick it up again. But he seems to have sort of found a use for it now. And, you know, those Rage Powders and Sleep Powders just proving to be so huge. And, you know, of course, last season, Meme showed the sort of defensive prowess of Rotom Wash. This thing does not go down too easily, and it's just such a nuisance. And you know, Dave does love a stat drop, and of course this thing has it in a plenty with the Will-O-Wisps and things like that. So very scary proposition for Silly to go up against. But all the same, Silly has also put together another very scary squad. It is a sort of heavy weather-based squad. But you know, last week things didn't quite work out for him against that sort of electric duo of the Shadow Kings team. But I for sure think that that Venucle duo lines up really well here to sort of, you know, deal with that Indeedee Male, to deal with the Ferrothorn. You know, things like Weather Ball, Torkoal with its eruptions is going to hit Ferrothorn real hard. You know, the things does need to be careful of is, of course, excuse me, Incin can get those Fire Blasts off that are going to really hurt the Venu in the sun, and of course Lando T with that flying moves and rock or ground moves, you know, really make Torkoal quite vulnerable. But I think Silly, you know, if he can sort out that Indeedee's terrain, you know, Sableye could definitely become quite useful here, or alternatively, something like the Follow Me on the Electabuzz is going to prove to be quite important. Of course, has 2 modes of weather, has got the Politoed as well to set the rain, and, you know, Poliwrath with the Swift Swim can make full use of that. So, you know, Silly's team really gels quite well. There's a lot of synergy going on in this team, and, you know, full props to Silly for putting together such a solid team. It's going to be exciting to see this one go down. So without further ado though, let's get into this one. It is the Long Island Goomys taking on the Newcastle Thundurus, and there you go, Silly is leading out with that Venucle lineup, and it's got the Politoed, Poliwrath, Electabuzz and Sableye in the back. Dave leading out with that Indeedee Male once again, and Ferrothorn sat next to it with the Insane Jumpluff, Lando T and the Rotom Wash in the back as well. So this one could be quite close. You would hope that Venu has got a Sleep Powder on it. If it's able to land it, it's of course going to be able to put that Indeedee to sleep, and then Torkoal is set up so nicely to just sort of sweep through that Ferrothorn and of course that Indeedee Male. But this is Silly. We know what he's like for forgetting things, so I won't put in too many hopes. And you know, Dave's going to be primed very good then if that is the case. You know, if Sleep Powder, even, you know, if he has put Sleep Powder on, Sleep Powder misses, then Indeedee Male's going to be able to get an expanding force off, and that Venu is going to be absolutely just toast, and Torkoal is not going to enjoy it either. You know, it's really not got the bulkiest for defense. So the Ferrothorn does switch out. There's the Lando T, goes to the Weather Ball, so no Sleep Powder, but the expanding force comes out. Venu goes down straight away, so it doesn't look to be like the Sleep Powder is on there. Eruption's going to come out, but that's going to do nothing after Torkoal takes such a chunky hit. Great switch in there for Dave, keeping his Ferrothorn alive, and, you know, allowing it, even if, you know, indeed he did go to sleep, that Lando wasn't going to take too much hit for the Russian fake out, though it does get the damage done on the Lando T, and there's a Draining Kiss, gets some health back for the Indeedee Male, and of course gets that super effective damage on the Sableye. Electabuzz is now out on the field though, but it doesn't have the likes of the Wide Guard and things, so it's in a bit of a pickle here against this Indeedee Male. You know, it's going to get such a chunk of extra damage thanks to that terrain on his expanded force. The DBL switches out, in comes the Rotten Watch, out comes the Follow Me. Nasty plot on the Sableye then, and there's the Earthquake. That's going to get a big hit off, and it takes out the Sableye, and straight away this game is getting away from Silly and is now all up to talk on Electables. One Earthquake is surely going to do the job here. Silly is in one hell of a pickle in this game. One is going to have to re-strategize and come back in this game number 2 for sure. He's in a world of trouble. There is the Earthquake, finishes on, and Dave takes this one under the 4 turns. And just a strongly Dave kicking things off very strong once again. How can Silly sort of come back from that and change? You would expect maybe the Venu to stay home this time, and it is the Sableye and the Electables leading the line, and it is the Jumpluff and the Indeedee Male Jumpluff with that Psychic Seed again as well. You know, we saw that last week against Kirky, so you know, Dave keeping some consistency there. As we said, you know already, the Follow Me not going to work, but the Fake Out can work on that Jumpluff for sure. You know, it is grass flying. Follow Me comes out from the Electables. There's a nasty plot on the Sableye then. So Sleep Powder comes out from the Jumpluff. Draining Kiss does proc the static, so it means the Indeedee Male is going to get paralyzed, and that is a huge 2 statuses in in one turn as the Electables takes a nap, and the Indeedee Male is going to take that power, so his speed is going to be dropped quite a bit. Of course, it's a bit of a difficult call to see which one is going to be the Mega on Silly's team. Obviously, has Sableye as a Mega, and the Venusaur and the Sableye is the Mega. There's the Acrobatics, takes a huge chunk of hit from the Draining Kiss and the Acrobatics. There's the Dark Pulse, it's going to overcore the Indeedee Male, and that's still so much damage from that jump off the Acrobatics, but Sableye getting a big kill in there. Now the Raw on Wash is going to switch in, and this is where it can really get some good hits in, you know, with the likes of the Will-O-Wisp just doing some of the chip damage, or can get some screens that just allowed Dave to bring one of his sweepers in and try and bring this back as Electables still asleep. Acrobatics is going to get rid of the Sableye and does tie it all up. There's the Hex from the Rotom Wash then, but 3v3 now as Rotom as water, you know, counter type is Politoed is going to switch in and allow the rain to go, but I wonder if that Rotom Wash is running a Hydro Pump here. Could make full use of that on their Electables. There's the Seed Bomb on the Jumpluff. Politoed really liking the one. There's the Ice Beam, and it gets the freeze on the Jumpluff. What is with all these statuses? Politoed just about hanging on from that Shadow Ball from the Rotom Wash as well, but that is not good news to the Jumpluff. Electable's asleep. Jumpluff is frozen. What is going on? The chances of that are surely very low. The freeze goes off. Electable's now finally going to wake up. Gets the Thunder Wave. Thunder Waves into the Rotom Wash. Muddy Water's not going to quite take out the Jumpluff. The Shadow Ball is going to get rid of the Politoed. It's now a 3v2. This is one of the most chaotic games of the season so far. What is happening here is Poliwrath now is going to switch in, is going to take full use of that Rain being up to activate its Swift Swim ability. Follow Me is going to come out for that Electabuzz. Plus Combat, it doesn't really get too much off on that Rotom Wash. The Whitehead is going to turn its stats normal. The Jumpluff is still frozen. There is the Will-O-Wisp on from the Rotom Wash as well, maybe trying to get that off on the Poliwrath, but while that Electabuzz is spamming those Follow Me's, is not going to be able to stop the Poliwrath from, you know, not having as many damaging hits. Follow Me comes out again. There's the close combat. Gets the critical hit. That's going to be so important. There's now a 2v2. The freeze still proccing on the Jumpluff. Electabuzz health slowly chipping down. As now in comes the Ferrothorn then. And Ferrothorn not completely out of the woods yet. That Poliwrath close combat are going to do some big damage to that thing. But Dave really needs the Jumpluff to thaw out and soon even get a Rage Powder off. Or a Sleep Powder, just do something to that Poliwrath. And there is the Thaw. It goes for the Rage Powder. Follow Me because of the Electabuzz. There's the Ice Punch. Is going to get rid of that Electabuzz. And now it's a 1v2. Dave going for the Iron Defense then. So smart stuff there from Dave, seeing how much those close combats are going to do and gives him a good chance of staying alive. Now there's the Thunder Wave though. Gets the Para on the Ferrothorn. And still that does so much damage. Does drop the defense of the Poliwrath. Iron Barbs is going to do a bit of damage with the Para Procs as well. This is just a game of statuses going off here. And Dave going to feel frustrated at that one, but you know, not really much you can do as close combat goes off again. It's this one looks to be Silly's for the taking. Is the Ferrothorn going to get powered again? It does. And this one is going to tie us all up at one apiece. That power from the Thunder Wave really coming in clutch towards the end there. And of course the freeze as well from that Ice Beam. And I can't say I've ever seen it go off that win. There's another paralysis. Can't even get the protect off on that one, and Silly is going to tie us up there as one piece of set. So it goes into a game number 3 then. So this is it. Can Dave continue his week 2 form, or is Silly going to get back to winning ways as leads the line with the Indeed Mail and the jump off again? And this time Silly kicking this off with the Politoed and the Electabuzz then, so getting the rain straight up there, allowing Electabuzz to start getting those follow me's off. As Dave does still have to land those sleep powders. Sleep Powder does indeed land, and there's the expanding force. Oh, takes a big chunk of the muddy water. Is it going to get an accuracy drop? It does on the Indeedee Mail, so that could be huge. Trying to get, trying to keep that Politoed alive. That expanding force did such big damage. The only problem under the terrain, that Indeedee Mail is going to do some big hits. There's the Acrobatics Electabuzz. Takes a critical hit damage. That expanding force, is it going to get rid of it? It does take out the Electabuzz, and Dave with the advantage in this game number 3 then. So again, another chaotic stab, and now in comes the Poliwrath then. So Poliwrath going to be the fastest thing on the field. And Dave saw the slaying power of this thing in that last game, but has really got to get some. There's the liquidation, going to get rid of the Indeedee Mail. The really coming in clutch. The Swift Swim and the Sleep Powder is going to put the Poliwrath to sleep, and somehow Jumpluff survives on 1% HP. As now in comes the Ferrothorn then. Silly needing some sort of miracle for Poliwrath to wake up early here, or the Ferrothorn is going to be in a great position to start setting up. Poliwrath does stay asleep, and there's the Seed Bomb to get rid of Politoed. Now with 3v2 Iron defenses go up for the side of the Ferrothorn. Now in comes the Sableye. Of course, that Sableye is the Mega and does have Magic Bounce, so Dave got to be really careful here to try not to go for the Leech Seeds, or he's going to bounce those Leech Seeds back onto himself and be in just as much of a pickle. Of course, we still don't know what that third one is. Sableye just goes for Mega. Fake Out is going to get rid of that Jumpluff, and the Poliwrath stays asleep. There's the Leech Seed onto the Poliwrath, so it's just slowly chipping away its HP. And now in comes the Thundurus, going to get those Intims off and proc the White Herb on that Poliwrath at the very least. Dave here could potentially just start setting up for Iron defenses, because Body Press is not going to hurt that Sableye, and he just cannot go for the Leech Seed, so he's got to get rid of the Sableye here with the Lando T, or he's in an absolute bother. Brick Break from the Lando T. There's the Body Press, of course, immune, so the Nasty Plot goes off from the Sableye. This is getting scary for Dave. He has got to get rid of that Sableye as soon as possible. Of course, Sableye is going to be, Mega Sableye is going to be super slow here, so got to make use of that speed advantage he's got with the Lando. No rain up, of course, so Poliwrath does wake up. It's not going to get the advantage of Swift Swim. There's the Earthquake, gets out the Poliwrath, but doesn't quite do enough to Sableye. Another Iron Defense goes up. There's the Shadow Ball. Oh, the Lando T just about hanging on. And Earthquake's not going to be doing enough. He's got to go for something else, try and get a bit more damage off, or the Sableye is going to be able to take out the Lando T. There's the Earthquake. Again, doesn't do enough. Body Press, of course, not going to hurt. And this could be bad. And oh no, Lando T goes down. And I don't think that Ferrothorn can touch the Sableye. This is going to be game in the most cruel circumstances. Well, I say cruel, Silly he's played this one so smart. You've got to give full credit to Silly. But Dave had so many opportunities this to go differently. And he's going to feel the salt in the wounds for that one, but well played to Silly and his Long Island Goomys. Gets the win in that one and gets himself back to winning ways, and Dave takes the loss. You've got to give full credit to Dave so far this season. He obviously won game 2, and every other game he's took to a game 3. He's putting on a clinic thus far. He's looking very scary. He might be 1-2 now, but really looking promising. And again, Silly making a strong start to the season after such a good season 3. So it's really exciting to see these two players, go at it in such a back and forth crazy game. But GG's to both guys, and it'll be exciting to see what them two can bring next week. But on to our next game then, and just in time in the chat is Mr. Crizzle. It is the South Croydon Saurs taking on the Tendo Melmetals. As we mentioned earlier on, unfortunately, the Crizzle did take that loss against the Criminal Colossals last week. So I did mention briefly that, a lot of what you wanted to do sweeper-wise was kind of, stopped by the ice prowess of that Criminal Colossals. The likes of the Moltres, the Tapu Bulu, things like that. Couldn't really get anything going, and it's the Cresselia and Aegislash just not able to get the damage output he needed, and Dr. Dave just able to get sort of the get off what he needed to, and Dragovich able to sweep up the second. But that was last week. This is this week, I think this could be a great week for Moltres Galar to come. You've got the likes of the Latios, things like Whimsicott that are going to be weak to a lot of what Moltres Galar wants to do. Of course, do need to be careful while that Lucario, if that Lucario is around. If it's not megaed or before it megas, you don't want to proc the Justified on that thing. But Fiery Rafts are going to do some big hits, and if Kirky can't really quickly get rid of that Moltres Galar, you're going to proc a Policy or Berserk. But of course, Chris does have plenty of options here. That Comfey as well, next to the likes of the Moltres Galar, Goodra, is going to be really, really strong. Do need to be careful on that front. Things like the Ambipom with its fake outs are going to be strong against the likes of that Comfey. But Chris has got some pretty strong sweepers here. As long as he can keep the likes of the Cresselia and those other support ones alive, they're going to be able to get some big damage off here and try and slow a lot of what Kirky wants to do, which is a lot of Kirky's team sort of circulates around a setup move, and then going for the sweep. So if you can sort of put a stop to that, either drop stats or get a burn or sleep or anything like that, or just sweep faster than Kirky can, then he's in a pretty good position. And I think this team's primed pretty well to deal with the said Melmetals team, but that does not mean that Kirky's team is anything to shake your head at. We saw just how much damage that Latios can do, even with stats dropped, with its Mega. So definitely nothing to be afraid of. And of course, as we mentioned there, it could go for the Justified setup on Lucario with the beater from Whimsicott, and then go for the Mecha, and that Mega Lucario is going to be terrifying, to say the least. I think the likes of the Jellicent and Barbacle here probably likely to stay home. They're not going to enjoy facing down on that against that Tapu Bulu, but something like the Arcanine here could be really good for dealing with said Bulu. Those that Intimidate, it's going to be really, really useful. And the Snarls as well to drop the special attacks. So Arcanine could be a bit of an asset here to Kirky's team. I hate to say that I don't think we'll see very much of Ferroseed or Vivillon. Of course, we did see Kecleon last week, but I dare say those two might not come very much. But be exciting to see if something like the Electros comes, just a sort of a sleeper pick. That thing is nothing to be afraid of. Is sort of what's the word? Kind of like it looks like a silly little eel, but it's not a silly little eel. It's deceptive. That was the word I was looking for. It's deceptively strong, especially if it gets something like a coil off. As of course does have access to the likes of Acid Spray as well, so can be a bit of a menace in that regard. But anyway, guys, I'm going to stop my babbling. Let's get into this one. It is the South Croydon Saurs taking on the Tendo Melmetals and Crystal with the Hitmonlee and the Goodra to kick things off with Cresselia, Bulu, Comfey and Galar Moltres in the back. Kirky kicking things off with the Ambipom and Lucario. He's got the Whimsicott, Latios, the Jellicent and the Barbacle in the back then, so a bit of a surprise pick there. Of course, Ambipom does have access to fake out here, so the Hitmonlee as well, also going to be able to go for those fake outs. But this is still a terrifying position. It's hard to call that in this turn one. Goodra of course is strong in its own right, but Lucario, if it gets set up, can be a bit terrifying as well, as we mentioned there. Lucario does go for the Protector, of reading the fake out comes out from the Ambipom there, and so the Ambipom is faster than the Hitmonlee, and the Protector is going to block that Flamethrower from the Goodra, so good start there from Kirky. It stops the Hitmonlee from doing what it needs to do, and Ambipom's big hands just clapping Hitmonlee in the face. I do often wonder, are they hands or are they, what are they? Because it's got hands, hasn't it? I don't know. Now is not the time to look at the sort of the anatomy of what I don't think. Goodra has of course already proven to be a bit of a menace thus far. Does have access to two very useful abilities in Gooey and Sapsipper as well. As the Lucario is going to switch out, Barbacle is going to come in. There's the tail slap from the Ambipom. How many times is it going to hit? It hits enough times to take out that Hitmonlee. And there's the Dragon Pulse from the Goodra. Not going to quite do enough to take out the Ambipom, but does get some real good damage with that. Is advantage to Kirky as early on. And Comfey is going to switch in. And that's good stuff for Chris. Comfey does have access to the Tailwind and Trick Room here, so could go for, potentially could go for either. And of course the Flora Healing and Giga Drain is going to be really useful for that. Getting the HP back and healing up its allies. You've got to make sure you take care of that Comfey before it gets things going for its teammate, or you're in trouble. curious to see what Barbacle is going to go for here. I know it does get shell smashed, so potentially the other sort of line Kirky's going to go down. We mentioned earlier on, he does like those setup moves. So Barbacle's nothing to shake your head at. This thing gets set up and it can be quite a nightmare to deal with. It does look like a tannen's got stuck. The ally switch does come out from the comfort, and the tail slap though. That means the tail slap is going to hit multiple times, and that is going to drop Ambipomp's speed right through the floor. He's still doing a bit of chip damage to the Guja, but that speed drops. Look at the amount of text on screen. It just keeps on going. The Guja's gooey is just stopping. The Dragon Pulse is going to get rid of the Ambipom regardless. There's the Poison Jam. And the Barbacle, no poison going up. The gooey is also going to slow that Barbacle down. White Herb now going to proc. So maybe going to sway Kirky away from going from those shell smashes now as White Herb has been used up, but really clutch ally switch there from Crizzle, and really helped him out in that situation, allowed him to go before that Ambipom and take care of it. Now the Latios is going to switch in, so we've not seen the Mega on the Lucario, so could it be Mega Latios? Flora healing the Goomys, Guja, some HP back. There's the Icy Wind, so it's going to slow both the Comfort and the Guja down. More importantly, the Guja, there's a Shell Smash does now come out from the Barbacle then, so was not expecting that, but there is the Thunderbolt. Oh my god, Barbacle just about hanging on through that even after the special defense drops. That is absolutely insane. Draenicus though is going to get rid of that Barbacle. It's now a 2v3. It's a good start because Draco Meteor is going to get rid of the Gujas. It does get the revenge kill there, and all of a sudden it is now a 2v2 Latios with a really huge special attack drop there though, and Lucario now going to switch in. Latios in a bit of a pickle with that special attack drop, but needed it to get rid of the Guja, so don't blame that. There's the Mystical Fire, so it's going to start dropping the special attack on that Moltres. Meteor Mash doesn't quite take out the Comfort. Air Slash misses the Lucario as well, and this Tailwind comes out from the Comfort, so going to give Chris that speed advantage after the speed drop from the Icy Wind, so it's smart stuff there. Meteor Mash getting so much damage done on that Comfort though, so the Comfort not safe as Draenicus is going to proc the weakness policy there on the Moltres. There's the Air Slash, gets some big damage with Lucario. Icy Wind coming out again just to drop those speeds under Tailwind that little bit further from Latios, and Meteor Mash now is going to get rid of Comfort, so now is a 1v2, and Lucario does get the attack boost from that Meteor Mash as well, so how huge could that be? Is it going to be enough for Lucario and Latios to be faster than the Moltres as Lucario just go for the Protect? Icy Wind comes out again, drop that speed just a little bit further with only two more turns of Tailwind, one more turn off this turn, and oh my goodness, this is quite a scary position for Chris to be in. He needs to hit something, maybe go for a Fiery Wrath here. It might be enough to take out both with the weakness policy being procced, but let's see as Lucario does go for the Mega. There's the Drain Punch, is going to get rid of it, and Kirky is going to take this game number one, so it was really down to the wire at the end there. Yeah, that miss was super huge for that one as we switch on into game number 2, and Kirky leading the same way with the Ambipom. Lucario and Chris changing things up completely and goes with the Cresselia and the Tapu Bulu Cresselia with that Grassy Seed as well. As means it's already got chunky defense, and his defense is about to get even chunkier. It's going to make the Cresselia a real menace to deal with, so Kirky's got to make sure he gets rid of that thing, because it's just going to sit there and just be a complete annoyance. Bulu's slaying power is nothing but as a beat up comes out from the Ambipom, so there you go, out comes the Justified onto the Lucario. The attack boosts go up and up and up. Is it going to get fast enough to move first to get rid of it? The flinch though, oh no, the flinch! It must be King's Rock on the Ambipom, and he flinches his own Lucario. It doesn't matter as the Bulu does go into the Ambipom, and the Cresselia is going to go for a Calm Mind, but who could have predicted that Lucario flinched by his own Ambipom? That is so lucky that the Bulu didn't focus into Lucario there, and that could have been an absolute disaster for Kirky. But does now have a Lucario with 3 times attack, and of course can go for that Mega, which is a very scary proposition for Crizzle here. This could, Lucario is potentially in a position to just start sweeping through as the Bulu is going to go for the Protect. No Mega yet from the Lucario, and Tail Slap is going to get blocked. There's the crunch from Lucario, even with that attack boost. Cresselia only takes half damage from that, which is absolutely insane. This Cresselia is just an absolute machine. All it goes for another Calm Mind there as well, just so it needs any more, defensive stat boosts. This thing is just, it's whatever. It's probably got Moonlight as well. It's just not going to die. And Kirky potentially in a bit of a pickle here if he doesn't take care of that. You know, just seeing how little that crunch did is a little bit terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. You know, super effective. Not a stab move, of course, but still, when your Lucario's 3 times attack, you would hope that it does enough. Lucario doesn't at least go for the Mega. I think maybe he should have Mega that last time. Crunch might have done a bit more. There's the Tail Slap. Does get a critical hit. Is it going to do enough? Not quite enough. There's the Crunch that gets rid of the Cresselia then, so there's a good start from Kirky. And the King's Rock does come off this time and makes the Bulu flinch. So, you know, in that scenario, it's a smart item choice on Kirky's side. You know, it's 10-1, maybe not so much. Just Hitmonlee now going to come in the field, so it gives Chris that fake out option at the very least and slow one of them down. You'd expect Lucario maybe go for the Protect here just to try and keep it alive. You know, for this time, he doesn't want to risk being fake outed here and being taken down by something like the Bulu. Ambipom really coming in clutch this week for Kirky, though. It is going to switch out those Barbicle, switches in, Protect comes out from the Lucario, Protect from the Bulu as well, and it's faint onto the Lucario, and it's going to break the protection, but Bulu going for the Protect, so no damage going off there for Chris, so there could have been an opportunity to take out that Mega Lucario there, but all the same, you know, nothing won, nothing gained, essentially there, a little bit of chip damage, whereas there's a close combat, it's going to get rid of the Lucario, oh my god, Hitmonlee it's not standing a chance of the Lucario. Hornleech can take out the Barbicle, and all of a sudden this is just turned around for Kirky. Ambipom is going to switch back in, so give himself that fake out advantage. What a turn there from Crizzle. Just 2 KOs in one turn, and he's got himself back on the advantage here, so good stuff there. As Latios is going to be Kirky's final mon. Of course, we saw it had Icy Wind and the Draco meter as well, so Kirky keeping his cards close to his chest with moves. There's the fake out onto the Bulu. Coaching comes out from the Hitmonlee, so smart stuff. There's the Psychic. Is going to get rid of the Hitmonlee. There's now a 2v2. What is the final mon in the back for Crizzle? It is the Goodra, so that's good stuff. There's just 2 mons here that can really sort of provide some good attacking threat here. Of course, the fake out already used up with the Ambipom, so this is good stuff from Crizzy. Maybe able to tie it up here and take us onto a game number 3, the second one of tonight. We're just all for the crazy games this week. Kirky has now revealed which Mega Stone is on which mon. It's important information for Chris. Chris knows Bulu does go for the Protect, stops that Tail Slap from coming out. Draco Meteor doesn't quite do enough to Gudra. Is going to drop the Latios' special attack. Dragon Ball's going to get rid of that Ambipom, and now it's up to the Latios to try and do something here. And with that special attack drop, it is in a real pickle, and it looks like Chris is going to be able to take care of things here. Draco Meteor not going to quite do enough. There's the Darkest Lariat to Oko the Latios, and it is now 1 apiece in Chris's favour. So good stuff there from Chris, and we go into a game number 3 then. And it is Ambipom and Lucario again for a 3rd game in a row. Kirky just sticking true with that duo, and Chris going with the Hitmonlee and Tapu Bulu again then. So we saw Hitmonlee going for that coaching before, but got to be careful because that Ambipom is going to be faster. It's going to have that faster fake out here, and you know, as the Lucario goes for mega fake out into that Hitmonlee, gets just so much damage to the Hitmonlee. Meteor Mash gonna get rid of Hitmonlee, so good start there for Kirky. Close Combat gonna get rid of the Ambipom and gets the revenge kill off, and it's 3v3 already. This game is just so chaotic and full on, it's hard to keep up. These first 2 matches have been insane, but you expect nothing less from our players in the British Pokemon League. They like putting on a show for us, they certainly do. It's still anyone's game though. Latios is going to switch in next to Lucario. Now in comes the Cresselia, makes use of that grassy terrain to pocket Grassy Seed. Of course, the Bulu has dropped its defenses thanks to that close combat. It is going to protect for that matter as it stops the Meteor Mash going off. So good stuff there from Chris. Mystic Fire is going to drop the special attack on the Cresselia. Is it going to go for a Calm Mind? It's not going to go for the Icy Wind, just try and slow things down. So again, smart stuff there from Chris, just playing around with the speeds and stat drops and keeping the the game in his control. As we move on to turn number 3, then still anyone's guess which way this could go. Going to come out from that Lucario. Great read there from Kirky. Subsequent comeback going off. There's an Icy Wind. Gets so much damage done to that Bulu, over half HP. Icy Wind goes back. Drop those speeds a little bit more. Latios, so it's just becoming a bit of a speed war now. And a bit of a war of attrition is leftovers on that Bulu. So it's getting a chunk of HP back thanks to the terrain and of course those lefties. Whimsicott going to switch in, then Protect comes out from that Bulu again just to get some more HP back, blocks the Meteor Mash as well. Moonlight is going to allow the Cresselia to heal back up then, and Chris just trying to stall things out now and get his Bulu back up to as much HP as it possibly can. Needs that Lucario to be a little bit slower, I think. As the Bulu's going to switch out, Comfey going to switch back in. Taunt comes out from that Whimsy, so the Cresselia is just stuck in that icy wind. The Meteor Mash is going to get the Orko onto the Comfey, the Mega making all the difference this time, and now it's a 2v3 and it's all up to Bulu and Cresselia, and for the moment Cresselia seems to be locked in to Icy Wind. Protect going to come out from that Bulu, and it looks to me, yeah, Chris is going to maybe try and just play around, like, slow Keki down enough to just get that super effective damage away at Whimsicott at the very least, but Tailwind has gone up for Keki's side, so that's going to be really important. And Chris does find himself in a bit of a pickle here. Protect comes out again for the Bulu, but Beat-Up coming out, but that's a mistake because it's the Mega Form, so no justified boosts. And that, how huge could that be? Has Keki wasted a time there? We will see. Icy Wind going to drop those speeds a little bit more, and I think that might be enough to allow Bulu to be fast enough then. Can Keki maybe try with a switch in here, allow, you know, like Lucario to switch back out again? Yeah, he just keeps hurting his own Lucario. What's going on? These first two matches have just been complete madness. And there it is, the Latios does switch in, taunt again from the Cresselia, and that close combat is going to be fully resisted by that Latios. It's not going to care too much, and that's great stuff there from Chris. And then Icy Wind does miss the Whimsicott, but gets some of the speed drop on the Latios at the very least, and a little bit of super effective damage away. There's only one more time in Tailwind to go for Keki, but of course Whimsicott still relatively nice and healthy, so can go for it again. It comes back with its own Icy Wind that's just doing so much damage to the Bulu, and the Moonblast is going to take out the Whimsicott, and now it's all up to Cresselia, and it's just stuck Icy Winding, and I don't think it's going to be able to do enough damage here to sort of, you know, keep itself in the game. You know, when Keki has that Mega Lucario in the back, this is a tough position for Chris. The Moonblast and Mystical Fire is going to be doing such big damage, and those Icy Winds really not going to be doing enough, especially when grassy terrain is just sort of healing the likes of the Whimsy right back up again. Taunt comes out again, and yeah, he's just got him stuck in a sort of circle of taunts, and another Icy Wind coming out. But special attack really dropped thanks to that Mystical Fire, so the Icy Wind just not going to be enough, and I think Keki's going to take this one and get his first win of the season in the British Pokemon League, and his first win, of course, in the British Pokemon League. Moonblast comes out, there's 1% HP on that Cresselia. That is going to be game. Keki takes the win over South Croydon Saurs, and that is the first time I think Chris has lost 2 in a row in quite a while, then going back to at least last season. And GG's to both players. Really fun stuff. All three of them games were so difficult to call, and there was a few moments in especially the first 2 games where just like the momentum just completely flipped, you know, just in one turn. It was crazy, but both players really playing their hearts out there with the switches and playing with speed, so, you know, really putting on a show for everyone. And yeah, you know, it's what you want to see from those two sort of, you know, those players. You know, we know they're both talented. You know, Keki hasn't had the sort of start he's wanted to, but we'll be happy with getting that win, and hopefully we can see Crizzle bounce back from that defeat next week. But on to our next game then, and it is the Space City PC taking on the Krima Colossal, as we mentioned during the schedule. This is the first time these two have faced off. Of course, Dr. Dave's team, it is this first season in the British Pokemon League, and we saw the weather prowess of this team, you know, just how strong the ice duo of Vanillix and Arctozolt can be. You know, paired with the Togepi, those Follow Me's, that little egg is deceptively defensive and bulky. This thing has lived and was it an Iron Head or a Flash Cannon? I can't remember what from an Edge Slash. Absolutely phenomenal. And you know, Vish, I mean, need we say more about Dracovish? This thing can really put those hits in. You know, and apart from that, has also got the likes of the Excadrill and Kangaskhan to play around as well, and of course Hippopotas to set up the Sand Force, said Excadrill to make use of either Sand Rush or Sand Force, because you know, he's really got a bit of a sandbox here to sort of, you know, play around whatever weathers he wants. And You know, that Butterfree as well can be such a nuisance if it's left unchecked for too long. You know, we saw 200 Candies make use of that Butterfree back in Season 2. You know, the Focus Sash Butterfree getting those sleep powders off and just proving to be such an annoyance. Well, this is Dr. Dave. I've heard a lot about this guy and the sort of crazy plays he can make, so who knows what he's going to bring here to face down against me. But me, you know, I said pre-show, he's not really made the start you would have expected him to. You know, got 4th place overall in the British Pokemon League, and of course 2nd place during the regular season, and the 0-2 start is, you know, maybe not where you want to see him, but you know, he's got such a strong team. Again, you know, that Charizard is an absolute menace, and of course has the, you know, the bonus of being able to choose either Mega, the X or Y evolution. You know, we saw him make use of the X last week and didn't really work out so well against Latvia. You know, of course those Encores really putting in the work, but you know, Dr. Dave cannot sort of sniff at the likes of that Mienshao, the Raichu, and you know, there's the Vileplume as well, really putting in the big hits. But you know, this likes the Vileplume, I think, is probably going to want to stay home, considering the sort of ice typing damage that is on Dr. Dave's side. Something like the Thievul, I think, could be really useful here with its sort of access to stat drops like the Snarls and things. You know, something supportive here might be really, you know, sort of good, just to allow Charizard to come in and sweep. Alternatively, like, you know, the Finny, if you can get a few Calm Minds off, you know, is going to be really in a real good prime position to do some damage to Dr. Dave's team. I think Mienshao, again, as we mentioned, is going to be quite an asset here, not only with its close combats and, you know, and rock slides, but this thing does get access to the wide guard, of course, which is going to stop at least the likes of Vanilluxe getting those blizzards off. And you know, the worst thing with Blizzard is not just the sort of severe damage it's going to do, is it's such a high power move, but of course there is a chance to freeze, and yeah, you know, it can take such a long time to thaw out that it can be a real scary prospect allowing them to get off. So you've got to deal with that Vanilluxe as quickly as you can. But anyway, guys, let's get right into this one. It is the Space City PC taking on the Krimet Colossals then. So Space City PC meme is kicking things off with the Tapu Fini and the Mienshao with Charizard, the Spiritomb, Inteleon and Latios in the back. Dr. Dave with the Axel and Togepi once again with that Vanilluxe, Butterfree, Dracovish and Kanga in the back. So Extraville stays at home once again this week. Are we going to see a fake out from that Mienshao, just, you know, into some of that Togepi just to stop it from you know, setting up, or are you just allowing Arctazil to get the damage off? You know, a Boltbeak here into Tapu Fini could be quite a bad news. You know, that Slush Rush can make full use of the Snow Warning from Vanilla, since the fake out does come out from the outside. His Rock Slide comes out from the Mienshao, and Togepi just tanks that as Moonblast is going to get blocked by that Protect. There's a Mystical Fire from the Togepi, so there you go again. It's just a box of tricks, this thing. Not only is it just living things that you just would never expect it to, but it just has all these moves that can, you know, make complete use of its Serene Grace ability as well, and it just be an absolute menace. You know, it's going to switch out now. He's going to bring in the Snow One, and Aslo going to go first. That Boltbeak going to take care of the Tapu Fini straight off the bat. There's the Rock Slide from the Mienshao. Axel does manage to tank that hit. Does miss the Vanilluxe as well, which is huge. But now Spiritomb going to switch in then. So Spiritomb, we saw Meme have this in Season 3+, so it'll be interesting to see what it can do here against this ice duo. But Arctazil, just getting those Boltbeaks off first is a real problem. There's the ally switch, so Boltbeak not going to quite do as much thanks to that move. Best Close Combat is going to get rid of that Arctazil, and Meme does get one on the board, does take a defensive drop down, of course, with no Sash, and the Mienshao goes down that blizzard, and Spiritomb takes such a big hit. It's going to be taking damage to that hail. Leftovers does at least manage to balance the books there, but it is now all up to Charizard and the Spiritomb, as now Togepi is going to switch back in. And those follow me's are going to be so huge, just to, you know, divert damage away from that Vanilluxe, and Blizzards are going to hit real hard. But has the Charizard, which one is it? Is it X or Y? It is Y. It's X, sorry, it's X, and you know, has an opportunity to set for something. And Blizzard does so much damage to get rid of the Spiritomb. Dazzling Gleam from the Togepi, and Togepi is actually going to get the kill. And the Charizard goes down, and what a quick ending of that one. Meme goes down in that first game, and is now going to bring it back and start out with the Mienshao and the Latios this time. And it is Arctazil and Butterfree on Dr. Day's side. So we saw Butterfree getting those sleep powders off last week, so could prove to be a menace in that regard once again. I think Meme is maybe just going to go on the attack against that Arctazil with something like a close combat. You know, Dr. Dave might feel it has to protect at least one of them once here, just to preserve them, just in case a fake out comes out from the Mienshao. You never know. Protect does come out from the Arctazil. stops that fake out from going off is the sleep powder into Mienshao, and so the Latios is going to get the tailwind up the lease, so it can allow the speed control to go into Meme's side, but that sleep is going to prove to be so huge. And in that turn one, Dr. Dave really make use of the status effects. So Vanilluxe is going to switch and get that snow warning up, and that's going to at least break the sash on the Mienshao. There's a Mystical Fire, gets some big damage to the Vanilluxe and drop the special attack more importantly, but Sleep Powder goes off on onto the Latios as well. So now both Mons on Meme's side are asleep, and Dr. Dave just in a really great position here to get some damage off, or just, you know, allow himself to pivot something around and get something in a position he wants to be in. As Dracovish is going to switch in. Mienshao does get the 2-turn wake up that goes to the wide guard. Is that going to end up being a great read there for Meme? It is. It stops the Blizzard from going off, and Latios not going to wake up, but does at least preserve it from that Blizzard. So that's great stuff there from Meme. You know, the wake up was, you know, quite vital there, but just the wide guard so huge for, you know, keeping that Latios alive. You know, Mystical Fire did such big damage that Vanilluxe the time before. If Latios can get a wake up now, you know, could be great for Meme to try and get back into this one. And Butterfree is going to switch in. There's a Rock Slide from Mienshao. It's going to get rid of the Butterfree. Butterfree with such frail defenses. And Vish, with the Fish's Rend, is going to revenge kill. That Dracovish is just putting in the work for Dr. Dave. And we're now at 3 apiece in this game number 2. As Dr. Dave going to be able to take another win this week then? Or has Meme got something to say about that? Can he bring this back? We're on 10 number 4. This is another fast-paced, crazy games. Actazult now comes in, is going to have that Slush Rush, so Bolt Beak is going to be able to really hit hard now. Can't Latios finally wake up? He's going to really need it to wake up, because that Vish is getting scary. There's the Icicle Spear, so it's going to reveal Yachi Berry on that. Is it going to do enough? Is it going to get enough hits? It doesn't, as the wake up does come off. There's the Tailwind, and the Fish's Rend comes out, gets a critical hit. How huge could that be? There's now a 3v2. Spiritium does go down. That crit is so huge, as now Charizard X is going to switch in, and that Tailwind could prove to be all important here. That Charizard, of course, is going to be Dragon Fire type now, at least, so it's going to have type advantage over the Dracovish, and goes for the Breaking Swipe and gets rid of the Vish. It's going to drop the attack on the Actazult as well, which is so important. Mystical Fire, is it going to do enough? Is it reals the Octoberry on Actazult? Doesn't quite do enough. Icicle Spear is going to get rid of that Latios, so it is now all up to the Charizard in a 1v2, but that did such big damage there. And now Vanilluxe can switch to allow Actazult to get that speed boost. Is Charizard going to be still faster though, even with that Slush Rush? Tailwind being up could be so huge for this end game. I'm not quite too sure of the speeds of the Charizard X to sort of work that out off the top of my head. And it is faster. Breaking Swipe comes out and gets a kill on both, and Meme is going to tie us up at 1 apiece. Great game 2 there, great smart stuff there from Meme. That wide guard and the Tailwind proving to be so pivotal. The Latios really coming to clutch. And now we move on to game number 3. Who is going to take it then? Is Meme going to be able to get his first win of the season, or is Dr. Dave going to get a second win in a row? Actazult and Vanilluxe lead the line this time as Mienshao and Latios. So Dave's got to either go for the double protect or try and protect one and go for damage with the other. You know, you think Meme's maybe going to go for the fake out on that Vanilluxe, just knowing how much damage that Blizzard is going to do to both his ones. Of course, Halo is going to break any potential sash that is on that Mienshao. Kangaskhan switches in then, so that takes the fake out rather than the Actazult, and the Blizzard going to come out. Is going to put the Yachi Berry. There is the sash on the Mienshao. Gets taken out, so it's going to get taken out by the Hail. Yachi Berry really keeping that Latios alive, but that still did so much damage. And now Dr. Dave has his own fake out available to him on that Kangaskhan, which we presume is going to be that Mega as well. And Meme has got to go for the Mega with his own Charizard now. There is the Charizard Mega, and the Kanga Mega comes out, goes to protect to stop that fake out. That's a great read there from Meme. Recover from the Latios as well, as the Blizzard's going to go out from Vanilluxe again. How much is that going to do? It just, oh goodness, and it gets the freeze. Oh no. Oh, that is so unlucky for Meme's side. You know, it manages to live the Blizzard but gets frozen instead. And that is not the turn number 2 that Meme would have wanted. That's going to make coming back into this one all so much more difficult. He's got to go on the attack, has at least got the Tailwind, the speed control is up. But Dr. Dave could potentially go for the switch in. There's a Breaking Swipe. It's going to drop the attack on the Kanga Vanilluxe. Not really going to care too much about its attack being dropped in the last resort. This gets some such big damage, of course, gets another hit off thanks to Parental Bond. Blizzard is going to get rid of both Charizard and Latios, and it is now a 1v4, and this is going to be Dr. Dave's game. It is Tapu Fini switches in. As a last hurrah, can it get something done? towards the end here. Try and bring me back into this. I think it's too little too late. Vanillux is just such a problem. There's the last resort. It does such big damage. That parental bond ability just so huge. And Blizzard is going to be resisted. Is going to proc the Agua Berry on Finny at the very least. But this one looks to be game, set, and match. And the Dr. Dave Colossal Train keeps powering on. Moonblast is going to at least take out Kanga Blizzard. Not going to quite do enough this time. But this one is over. Great plays again from Dr. Dave. You know, after that week one, I think maybe some people were sort of questioning the choice of the sort of dual weather, the way he'd set it up, but he's really proving he knows how to sort of power this team. Dracovish going to take that Moonblast. That's scary stuff there for Dr. Dave. This meme about to make an unlikely comeback. Minogue's going to switch in, going to give Atazalt that hail. Boltbeak going to get the job done, and Dr. Dave does indeed now finally take it. GG's to both of our players there. Really smart stuff. Sorry, my webcam has decided to go out of focus there. Yeah, great stuff there from both players. You know, as I said, like Dr. Dave, after week one, I think a few people maybe would have sort of questioned whether it was the right sort of lineup to go with on a sort of draft league basis. But you know, the last 2 weeks have proven the complete opposite to that, and he knows how to pilot this team. And Meme, unfortunately, 3 losses in a row. You know, has definitely got an uphill struggle on his hand, but Meme is a very talented player. I think he's got to try and bring it back in the next couple of weeks, but at the very least has got that mid-season free agency period where he can make a few changes, try and sort of rejig the team, sort of reassess and bring himself back into it. So it is not over till the fact of these things, and we will see if Meme can come back next week. But on to our 4th game of the night. It is the Booty Boys taking on the Shadow Kings, as we mentioned earlier. These two with a very, very storied history over the past couple of seasons. Of course, Dogsy took his first win over the Beauty Boys last season when they were formerly known as the Wobbuffet Ninjas, and you know, enabled him to make playoffs. That win, so it was a really huge win towards the end of the season. But it is always close between these two. Beauty Boys with the head-to-head record at the very least, though. Of course, Beauty Boys losing out to the Inglorious Surfers last week. Just the power of the Surfers team a little bit too much for the heavy support team that came last week. So we'll be looking to try and bounce back against Dogsy Shadow, because of course got the win over the Long Island Goomys last week. So, you know, silly team is nothing to shake your head at. So it just proves the power that is on this Shadow King team. And of course, we mention it every week, but that Coco Electivire duo is such a menace. And of course, Coco can go for those discharges and enable Electivire to get that motor drive. Give it a speed boost, and this thing's move pool is just so nutty. It's going to be very hard to predict what it's going to do. So, you know, it's really down to Dogsy's draft. Dogsy's drafted a very, very strong team here. You know, as of course, got his Ditto as he always does, but that Umbreon, you know, is such a bulky support mon. If it's set up correctly and if it can get those stat drops off and Moonlight up, it can be a real problem. Of course, it's got another synergy duo in Abomination and Activish, you know, Abomination with that mega, you know, potential as well. Gets its snow warning set up and is going to allow Activish to get the slush rush. And Vicious Wrens are really going to do some big damage, especially into the likes of that Entei on the Booty Boys side. You know, it'd be nice to see potentially that the Blastoise, you know, may risk coming this week, but of course, if it lines up against that electric duo of Coco Electivire, I think Blastoise is going to be in a bit of a pickle, to say the very least. The same with that Entei if it's facing down against that Vish Abomination duo. So it's going to be all about sort of placement and sort of leads here. It's, I think, going to be all important. You know, we've seen that Persian Lord really putting in the work for the Boo Boys thus far with his fake outs, stat drops, and of course that fair coat ability allowing it to live those physical attacks with much aplomb. You know, we've also seen a little bit of the of that Jirachi as well with his follow me's, but I think you know, with discharge being such an issue, I think Jirachi is going to be a little bit useless here. But you know, potentially we see a special attack set with that ancient power move making full use of Serene Grace. We will certainly see, but I think the Raikou here could be really strong. You know, it's going to deal very well against the likes of that Bruxish, which, you know, is potentially going to either look to be a bit of a sweeper or, you know, can get those trick rooms set up. You know, of course, the Arctivish as well going to be a little bit weak to that Raikou as well. Of course, Dogsy, as we mentioned there, Bruxish does have that trick room as well as Aromatisse, so may decide to go to a slow mod. You know, that Melmetal and Mega Camera-Ups if he decides to put the Mega on there. It could be such a nightmare for this Bully Boys side if he's not got a Trick Room of his own to reverse things, because Dogsy's team, for the large part, is much slower in that regard. But neither teams with Tailwind, so you'd fully expect to either see the speed stat drops come out or Trick Room go up. So this could be quite an exciting one, but let's get into this one. It is the Bully Boys taking on the Shadow Kings of Dogsy, and Bully Boys lead the line with the Entei and the Persian Lola, with the Raikou Phalanx, Ordino and Bennett in the back, and Dogsy kicking us off with the Bruxish and the Thwacky. Then so Thwacky getting that grassy terrain up, has got the Camera Up, Abominous Snow, Coco and Electivire in the back. So it'll be very interesting to see which Mega is going to come. Is it going to be Abominous Snow, or is it going to be the Camera Up? Of course, the Alolan Persia can't go for that fake out while that Bruxish is on the field. That dazzling ability works much the same as Serena's. Queenly Majesty is going to stop priority moves from going off. So it's such a good mon to have. Of course, as I said, does have access to the likes of Trick Room. It has a little bit of slaying power as well. This likes of liquidation and stuff are going to do big damage into that Entei, unless there's some sort of mon with Rain as a protect comes out from that Entei. Fake out into that Alolan Persian. That's going to leave Dogsy to get the Trick Room up for free then. And that's a great start there from Dogsy. Dogsy potentially could have switched something in there, on that side, to protect on the Entei maybe a little bit, too cautious there on the Bully Boy side. Of course, the Entei not going to be afflicted by the fake out, so could have went for a damaging move all the same. But I think regardless, Trick Room was going up there. I'm not sure that Entei would have had anything to sort of do enough to that Bruxish. So Dogsy with that speed control then. Because Entei not known for being overly slow. There is the Hammer Arm that gets some really big damage away to the Persian Lola, despite the defense boost. The Shadow Ball comes out, that's going to hit Bruxish and is going to proc the Cascade Berry as U-turn comes out from the Alolan Persian as well. So Alolan Persian is going to be allowed to switch back out again, and now some good information for the Bully Boy side, finding out what is on that Bruxish. And the grassy terrain going to heal up that Thwacky and Bruxish as well. No damage currently on that Bully Boy side apart from that Alolan Persian. So Balloon is on that Raikou as well, so again some good information for Dogsy. His Camera's going to come out. There's a grassy glide, gets some big damage to that Raikou. A Heat Wave comes out, and the Thwacky does manage to hang on there. That Eagle really coming clutch. And it's a great switch in from Dogsy, reading that the Thunderbolt's probably coming the Bruxish's way, and Camera switches in and now can make full use of that Trick Room and stops any damage from going off and keeps that Bruxish alive for later on. Smart stuff there from Dogsy, but only 2 times of Trick Room remaining here, so Bully Boys can potentially play it safe and try and stall out the Trick Room, and it's going to really put the Raikou and Entei in a strong position if they can do that. But the longer they allow Camera Up to live, that if it is the Mega, those eruptions are going to really hurt. And any move on its side is going to really hurt. This thing has a very strong special attack when it goes for those Megas. There is the Mega from Camera Protect, comes out from the Raikou. Entei is going to take that eruption, takes a big chunk of damage there, 40% knockoff, going to knock off that charcoal on the Entei, so that's again some good information for Dogsy. But Heat Wave going to get the Thwacky down on a turn number 4. The first one goes down, it is advantage to the Bully Boys with 1 turn left of Trick Room then. What is going to switch in for Dogsy? Maybe switch in the Bruxish here, and maybe just wait a turn to get the Trick Room going back up again. But the Abominous Snow is going to switch in instead. It does get that halo, so it's going to be doing that chip damage away each time. And again, Abominous Snow pretty slow, so could make use of that Trick Room going up 1 turn. But Bully Boys potentially have an opportunity here as again play it safe with a Protect. You see, the Raikou did go Protect for the previous turn, so as Persian Alola is going to switch and Protect comes out from that Entei, is potentially the sack off there from the Alolan Persian. It is the Eruption, it's going to take off the Alolan Persian. Blizzard's going to get blocked by that Protect. It is now a 3v3, but Trick Room has ended, and this is not positionally where Dogsy wants to be. Abominous not in Camera Up. You want to be much slower than Raikou and Entei, and it's going to just depend on what moveset that Raikou is running. We know it likes to run, and you see this hovering over Scald there. Scald in the Camera Up is not going to feel good. And you know, if NT can land a heat wave or any kind of fire move, that Abominable Snow is right to go down. Brooks is going to switch in. There's a Scald onto the cat onto said Camerupt. There's now a 2v3 heat wave at the Brooks gets a little bit of damage away. So good switch out there from Dogsy. And it's going to allow that Abominable Snows to switch back in, but still in a bit of a pickle. You know that Raikou's going to have that advantage over that Brooksish and is going to be faster. You know, that NT as well, as I said, the heat wave I think is going to be enough to take out the Abominable Snow. Of course, it is an accuracy move, so potentially could miss and allow Dogsy a way back into this. Ally switch comes out from the Brooksish, so Abominable Snow is going to take that. His heat wave going to land it, misses the Brooksish, but it does land the Abominable Snow with a critical hit. Going to take it out. Whether that mattered or not, I'm not too sure, but that's a really big hit, and this one looks to be over as the Bully Boys are going to take this first game, and the Thunderbolt comes out. Brooksish goes down, and it is 1-0 and on to game between them. Can Dogsy turn this one back around them in his favour? As the Bully Boys going to lead with NT and the Lowland Persian. Again is Coco and the Electivire then, so it is the electric duo of the Electivire and Coco, and this is where things could get scary for the Bully Boys. Of course, the NT and Persian going to be both slower than that Coco, and Coco just free to go for a discharge and allow that Electivire to activate to Mortar Drive. But of course, the Lowland Persian could potentially go for a fake out. Protect goes out with Coco, reading that fake out as the Icy Wind comes out instead. It's going to drop the Electivire's speed, but there's the red card from the Electivire, and that's going to allow the Raikou switches. That's smart. Obviously, it's an eruption from the NT. Electivire just about hangs on that speed drop from the Icy Wind, proved to be so useful. Rock Slide is going to pop the balloon on that Raikou. It does get some big damage away to that NT as well. But that's going to mean that all Coco can do is, you know, bring Electivire back up to neutral speed, which means it's going to be still slower than the Raikou here. So Raikou potentially going to be free to take out said Electivire, and then of course Raikou not going to really take too much damage from that discharge, even with electric terrain being up. It's going to resist that. Is the protect from the NT raises this discharge coming out, still going to do damage to Electivire. Mortar Drive does get activated. Scald is going to take out the Electivire, and that is advantage to the Bully Boys. They're going to take the Mont advantage here as a 4v3. Coco hangs on though. Bully Boys playing it smart with the protects here. What has Dogsy got in the back? Let's see, potentially Thwacky could be useful here, just to give it those priority grassy glides. You know, those grassy glides still doing so much damage, and there is said Thwacky going to activate that grassy terrain as well, which is going to give some HP back to all the mons on the field, which Dogsy can take full advantage of. Got to be careful here of a heat wave from that NT though, so he's, you know, really got to do everything to try and take that thing out, because said Coco is going to be the fastest thing on the field. I wouldn't expect to see a discharge coming from it this time around, just to sort of, you know, Thwacky's not going to really care too much about a discharge, but just so he doesn't risk a para. Cameron though going to switch in as Dazzling Gleam comes out. That gets a good damage wave. Of course, the NT is going to resist that. Scald going to do a good little damage wave to Coco. Heat Wave comes out and is going to take out the Coco, and Cameron manages to resist that, and now is it 2v4 then. This is looking a bit scary for Dogsy. Of course, I said can go for a Grassy Glide here, which may well be enough to take out that Raikou. Is it going to be enough for that NT though? Has NT got something in its locker to take care of the camera? He's not going to care too much about the Thwacky. As Aggressive Glide is going to take out the Raikou then. There's a Heat Wave again. Heat Wave does land, so it takes Thwacky down to 36%. Hammer of those is going to go out the air power, and NT goes down. All of a sudden it's a 2v2, so great turn there from Dogsy. Brings himself back into this one. And what is in the back for the Voodoo Boys? And is the Mega Bennett and the Persian Alola then. So Frisk comes out from the Bennett, so it gets some information. It was kind of obvious as the Eviolite and of course the camera update. And we knows that Alolan Persian is Scarf, the Icy Wind going off well before anything else. Minute does go for his Mega. There's a Grassy Glide. Still gets some good damage with it. Snarl comes out, so it's going to drop the special attack on that camera. So that's massive there on the Alolan Persian. Shadow Claw comes out. Camera just about hanging on that Flash Cannon. Gets some good damage away to the Alolan Persian. The Grassy terrain is going to allow some of that HP back. Dogsy may look to protect here, just to allow some more HP on the camera. That Shadow Claw did such big damage because Shadow Claw does have a critical hit chance as well. So that could get very scary very, very quickly Claw Dogsy here if he's not careful. You know, maybe you got to try and focus down the Mega Net. Of course, that Alolan Persian is Scarf. It's going to be stuck in those snarls, which is not going to do too much. It's the Alolan Persian just about hanging on. Drop that Thwacky's health a little bit more. The Shadow Claw does go into the camera, so Beauty Boy's going for on the attack, going on the offensive, just trying to get rid of the main damage dealer. But got to be careful of that Thwacky, you know. Is the Grassy Glide from the Thwacky. He's going to get rid of the Alolan Persians in 1v2s. The Shadow Claw is going to get rid of the camera up to now is Thwacky versus the Mega Net. Grassy terrain does now end, so no more priority Grassy Glides. And this one could be it then. Is it going to be the 2-0? Is Thwacky going to be able to bring this one back? I think it's over. There it is. The Shadow Claw comes out. Thwacky goes down, and it is a 2-0 to the Booloo boys. And back to winning ways is the Booloo boys. GG's to Dogsy. That was a really, really fun set. I was so terrified of that electric duo. I just had to run Scarf on the Alolan Persian and hoped and prayed to God that the Icy Winds landed, because if they didn't, then I basically just lost. So, but yeah, really, really fun set. It's always fun to play against my boy Dogsy. I'm sure he's going to bounce back from that defeat next week on. He's looking really, really strong this season. It's probably one of my favourite teams in the league this season. You know, it's such a strong team, so many different aspects to it. So really well played, Dogs. And we will see what happens next week in the life of Booloo boys as well. On to our 5th game of the week. It is the Miami Heat taking on the Welsh Warriors. So another game is a first time meeting between the two. Of course, these two did play in the Season 4 qualifiers though. So, you know, the did take the win in that one. But, you know, that was qualifiers. Whole different teams then. Whole different setup. And of course, Matrix does have that steel mono-type team. It fills me with excitement seeing this team every time I see it in this team preview window. I'm filled with jealousy as well, because I kind of wanted to build the steel mono-type, but didn't quite have the balls to do it. And, you know, I have full respect to Matrix for building the team, and it's proven to be a strong team so far. You know, it's 2-0 in the league. Both these teams 2-0, so of course someone's unbeaten record is going to be ending this week. And someone's going to be going to 3-0, making one hell of a start. Of course, Latvian making a strong start to life back in the British Pokemon League. It's really great to have Latvian back with us after his absence, you know, partway through last season. And you've got to say that Articuno Galar, he is getting the very best out of it, as well as that Lipad. The Lipad with those Encores, proving to be such a problem for Meme last week. You know, you set up in front of this thing. If there's no Psychic Terrain up, you're in so much trouble. This thing is going to be able to just encore your face off over and over and over again, and you can't do anything about it. Of course, does have access to the Fake Out as well, and Snarl. This thing can be just such a nuisance, you know, paired next to something like a setup on like the Articuno Galar or the Primarina or Typhlosion. You know, Typhlosion going for those eruptions. You know, paired up against the right mons could be really strong. You know, while Heatran might have that Flash Fire, there's so much on that Welsh Warriors team that is weak to fire. The only things that really aren't are the Empoleon and Heatran, so really scary stuff there for Matrix if he gets it positionally wrong. But, you know, likewise, that Heatran is going to be able to get some big damage away with those eruptions. Of course, has been running Scarf on that Heatran, just to give him that speed control, you know, that he needs, because it is a bit of a slow team. Does have access to Tailwind, and of course Trick Room as well on the likes of the Klinklang and Bronzor, but Skarmory with the Tailwind could be a useful asset for the Warriors here. And Klefki as well with that switcheroo. You know, we saw him use Iron Ball and you know, Lagging Tail to great effect, try and slow his opponent down. And you know, screens on that Klefki as well can be just as important. So scary stuff there on Matrix's side. You know, just because it's a steel monotype team, it is definitely the strongest monotype going. So it is nothing to turn your nose up to. And you know, I said this one is going to be a classic. It is first versus third. It is Miami Heat versus Welsh Warriors. Let's get into this one. It is a replay, so I will do my best to try and keep up with what's going on. There's a Klinklang and Klefki. I'm going to leave the line for Matrix. It is the Typhlosion and Lipad for Latvian. Latvian go for the Fake Out onto the Klefki. Going to get that flinch off, and Klinklang is going to hang on from that Flamethrower, but it is Sash on the Klinklang, so it's going to allow it to get the Trick Room off at the very least, as Light Screen's going to go off the Klefki. Klinklang now stuck in that Trick Room. That's why those Encores really come into use. Ockerberry is revealed on that Klefki. It's going to allow it to live, but does take a burn for its troubles. That light screen could prove to be so useful as now Klefki is stuck into the light screen as well, and Brick going to break said screen. And Klefki's going to just put that screen right back up again. That encore just proving to be such a nightmare as Matrix is going to switch in. The Metagross steals. There's a great switch in there, so reads the stat drop coming. And Metagross, of course, clear body, not going to allow that to go as the Seeking is going to switch out. Encore comes out with the Metagross, is now is stuck into Rock Slides. Steelix with the body press is now at least going to get rid of that Lipad, so gets rid of that little annoying cat. And now in comes the Galarian Articuno then. And Rockslide going to miss said Galarian Articuno, and is going to allow it to get Tailwind up. Knockoff going to come out from that. Seekings not only reveals the Choice Scarf on Metagross, but also takes some super effective damage to Metagross. The Steelix goes to the Curse, gives itself that attack and defense buff. It is a Mega Steelix. There's a Scald. No bends on the Steelix side, but does get a little bit of damage away. And the Body Press is going to get rid of the Seeking, and all of a sudden it's a 3v2, so Matrix with the advantage here, but you know, that got to be careful because there is the Typhlosion is going to tie it up, takes out the Steelix. Shadow Ball is going to get rid of the Metagross as well after that Command goes up, and all of a sudden in one turn is turned back around, and now Klefki has it all to do. Light Screen's not going to matter, and Latvian takes this game number 1 then. Great start there from Latvian. We're switching straight into game number 2, and it is the Galarian Articuno and Lipad this time with Skarmory and Klefki. So Matrix going with the support heavies of the Skarmory and the Klefki. Then Klefki goes for the Dazzling Gleam, so it's going to proc the Roselli Berry on the Lipad, so finds there's no sash on that Lipad, so some good information for Matrix. The Seeking is going to switch in. Shadow Ball gets a big damage away at the Skarmory. There's a Dazzling Gleam again. There is the Tailwind goes off of Skarmory, so does get that speed control that he wants. Of course, that Galarian Articuno does have its own Tailwind, so Latvian could choose to get some speed back. Brave Bag from Skarmory, get some big damage away, but not enough. Knockoff going to knock off that leftovers from Skarmory, so it's a big time there for Latvian. Gets his speed back and recover on that Galarian Articuno. That could be huge. Doesn't Gleam come from that Klefki, which is of course went for its own Carmine, and Seeking going to get rid of that Skarmory. Now with 3v4. Metagross can switch, and the Rock Slide does miss the Galarian Articuno. So how huge could that miss be? A Shadow Ball is going to Core the Metagross, and all of a sudden is a 2v4. Doesn't Gleam the Klefki, not quite enough. There's a knockoff. It's going to knock off the Ockerberry on that Klefki, which means if Typhlosion switches in there, that Klefki is really in a world of trouble. In comes the Steelix, then Recover, going to come out from that Galarian Articuno, and Drill Run does get some big damage with Klefki, not quite enough. Klefki going to get rid of that Seeking, and Body Press of course going to resist that Galarian Articuno. Matrix maybe not expecting the Seeking to go down, as now in comes the Urshifu. Dark gets rid of the Klefki, as now as 1v3 is all up to Mega Steelix, which goes for the Curses, goes for there. Matrix going for the setup, but is it going to, I was going to say, is it going to be enough to live from the Urshifu? That defense buff really helping it out there, but not quite doing the Body Press. It's going to take the Urshifu down with Sash. Close combat though is going to get the job done, and Latvian takes that one 2-0, handing Matrix his first loss in the British Pokemon League after making such a solid start. But you know, Latvian, he's our Season 1 champion for a very good reason, and proving just why he is. And again, that Lipad, just such a problem for people to deal with. You know, you let this thing get Encores off, and it just, you can't do a thing. You know, someone maybe should taunt that thing. I don't know. Just me. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. But no, both guys played that really well. That was really close stuff from both players. So GG's to Latvian and Matrix. So Latvian moving on to 3-0. But now it's time to find out whether his other unbeaten counterpart, Inglorious Surfers, can keep their own unbeaten run going against bottom of the table Swindon Rookidees. You know, as we mentioned earlier, this is Draco's last game of the British Pokemon League this season. He will be departing after this week, and we will be bringing a certain someone back as a substitute next week. But I will leave that one as a secret for now. You'll find out next week, I'm sure, who has come in to take his place. Anyways, so Draco not exactly made the best start to life this season in the British Pokemon League. Just not quite working out for him. You know, we've seen him lead the Darkrai Meowstic a few times, trying to get, you know, those the double sleeps off with the Darkrai Meowstic, making use of its prongs to gravity, and Darkrai using those Dark Voids, but it's not quite worked out for him just yet. You know, not quite worked out the way he maybe would have wanted. So maybe, you know, gotta try a different tact here. You know, it could definitely make use of Aaron's Rain setting up from that Pelipper, you know, using his own Kingdom. But you know, Aaron, I think, is going to be conscious of that and probably try and change tact a little bit. You know, and try and focus down on the likes of that, you know, Scizor, and you know, Shaman as well. You know, Shaman has been coming quite a bit for the Rookidees, as well as the Marowak as well. But there's definitely quite a support heavy presence on that Rookidees side. But support heavy or not. If they're positioned correctly, positioned next to a strong sweeping one like that Scissor, like the Kingdra, like the Darkrai even, definitely nothing to shake the nose up at. That Riolu can reset weathers with its own prankster ability, and of course has access to coaching as well, which is going to be really useful for likes that Scissor, and the likes of Golisopod as well. So there's definitely got option there. And over on Aaron's side, we saw how strong the Drapion and Rillaboom were last week. And again, Aaron's team is so diverse. Once again, it's hard to predict what's going to come, and there's just so much sweeper presence on this team. The Swampert with his mega ability, as well as Mawile with its own mega ability, can obviously give it huge power, which can be such a problem. But last week, the Drapion, Rillaboom proved they can slay in their own regard. And Pelipper as well, if given the right tools, can be quite a problem. There's so much synergy in this team as well that Aaron's got a lot of options on his side that is set up correctly. Something like the Mega Mawile, or the Rilla or Swampert can come in and just sweep. Or like in week 1, maybe you can just leave it up to Bronzong, and this thing can be this season's Registeel, and it does its own sweeping job. So do not turn your nose up at that thing. Draco definitely going to be careful of that Bronzong if it comes. But anyway, guys, on to the final game of the weekend. Is the Swindon Rookidees taking on the Inglorious Surfers. It is Scissor, Linoon, Togetic, the Marowak, Shaman, and the Kingdra on Draco's side. And it's what's going to be leading is Linoon. Togetic is leading the Draco. And it's the Venomoth and the Turtonator for Aaron, of course, has got the Mawile, Swampert, Perugly, and Bronzong in the back. So not a league we've seen Aaron use just yet. Venomoth is definitely not something you see very often at all, but Turtonator, of course, with that Shell Trap or Shell Smash, can be such a problem. Togetic does go for the Follow Me, and Belly Drum comes out for that Linoon, so it's going to give its own citrus, its Agua Berry, gives it quite a bit of HP back. The Sleep Powder comes out from the Venomoth, and Shell Smash goes up from that Turtonator, and White Herb is going to turn its stats back to normal. So both sides going for setup moves, but that Sleep Powder on the Togetic is going to be so huge. Aaron's going to be happy he landed that. That Follow Me, it's going to not be able to take damage away from that Linoon, and Linoon is now potentially in a bit of a pickle, especially now Turtonator has got its Shell Smash off. Those special attack boost is really going to put it in a strong position, and Venomoth potentially could even put the Linoon to sleep, if Linoon doesn't go down from that Turtonator's damage. His extreme speed is going to do some big damage to Turtonator. Just so it hangs out, the Venomoth does put the Linoon to sleep. There's a Heat Wave. It's going to get rid of Linoon. Togetic does manage to tank the hit. Unfortunately, no one-turn wake-ups. And that is a very, very strong start from Aaron. As we said earlier on, such variety in his team that, you never know what's going to come. This now, Scissor switches in for Draco, and maybe not what you would have wanted against this Turtonator after seeing it do that. Rage Powder comes out from the Venomoth. Going to read that Bullet Punch coming. Heat Wave is going to get rid of that Mega Scissor before it gets a chance to do anything. And Togetic stays asleep for yet another time. And this is a very, very quick start for Aaron T. Marshall then. And Marowak is the final one on Draco's side. So can he bring this back for a 2v4? Togetic needs to wake up this time and allow Draco to get a Follow Me off, and maybe hope for a Heat Wave miss on Aaron's side if Aaron does decide to go that way with the Heat Wave. Togetic though does stay asleep. Sleep Powder does miss this time on the Venomoth. Heat Wave is going to miss the Marowak as well. Togetic though will go down, and it is now a 1v4. There's the Rock Slide. It's going to get rid of both Venomoth and the Turtonator. A big turn there for Draco. Gets the 2 kills. And now it is a 2v1, but unfortunately it is the Mawile and the Swampert. Which one is going to be the Mega? Marowak really not going to enjoy facing down either of these ones, especially not that Swampert with its water typing. This is going to be quite an ask to bring this one back. There is the Liquidation. Marowak does manage to hang on though, does get the defense drop. Unfortunately, Ironhead though is going to take care of it. Marowak goes down, and Aaron starts off strong in game number 1. So Draco switching this up this time, going for the Togetic and Marowak, and Aaron leading the line with that Mega Mawile and the Perugly this time. So we saw Perugly in that Team of 6 last week, but Aaron not making use of it this time. It comes because Perugly does have Fake Out and does get access to that last resort, so you can just run it with the 2 moves and just allow it to sort of just do the damage with the last resort. So definitely a good option there on Aaron's side. Togetic you would expect to go for me some more sleeps this time on Aaron's side. And Mawile goes for it to make a protect, comes out from that Marowak. There's the fake out into the Togetic. A great read there from Aaron, but goes straight for the Marowak. Is at least going to stop the Togetic from going for anything it wants to. And Marowak managing to defend itself, but the Ice Punch is going to hurt real big from Marowak. You've got to be so careful. This thing can just sweep the entire team if left unchecked. There's the Follow Me, comes out, play rough. Not going to do too much to Togetic, but Ironhead is going to take care of it, and the Follow Me option is gone. There's the Boomerang, is going to get rid of that Mega Mawile. So great stuff there from Draco. He does manage to get the revenge kill at the very least. And now it is a 3v3. The Draco not down and out just yet. In comes the Bronzong though, and now the Shaman as well next to that Marowak. Of course, that you would expect that Bronzong to be levitated, so can't go for no Boomerang. Because you can't really leave this thing unchecked to get those iron defenses up. You can get really scary really quickly. Prugly, last resort is going to do big damage. Shaman does manage to tank that in. The Giga Drain from the Shaman does such big damage back to the Prugly. There's a Fire Punch from the Marowak. So there you go, Fire Punch is revealed on that Marowak. Now that gets some big damage off to Bronzong. You'd expect Aaron to maybe protect that next time just to get a little bit of damage back on from that leftovers. Now he's got an iron defense up, is maybe going to allow him to live another one of those Fire Punches. But just how much that Giga Drain did from the Shaman though. The Protect does come out from the Bronzong. There's the last resort. It gets a big hit on the Marowak. Just Giga Drain onto the Prugly, and now Shaman back to almost full HP, and Aaron does manage to read the Fire Punch coming his way correctly, and that Bronzong's got a little bit more HP back. Still anyone's guess here. There's the last resort. He's going to get blocked by that Protect. There's the Giga Drain going to get rid of the Prugly. So it's now a 2v3 then. Trick Room going to go up though, and now in comes the Turtonator, and then this could get quite scary quickly. The Shaman's not going to enjoy taking a hit from that Turtonator. What is going to be Draco's final mon? You would hope it's not the Scizor. Maybe the Kingdra is going to have come in this one and can get rid of that Turtonator. There is the Body Press. That's going to get rid of the Marowak. So it is a 2v2. There's a Heat Wave. Shaman manages to, even with a critical hit, there's the Air Power from the Shaman. Just some big damage with Shaman. Maybe the keys to the victory here for Draco. This could be quite a close one. His Trick Room is still up for another 3 turns. So it is still quite scary. Another Heat Wave here, if it does land, is really going to put Draco in a losing position. So he's got to hope that RNG goes his way. But this is RNG's. I wouldn't hope too much. Bullet Punch comes out. It's not enough to do the turn. Body Press gonna get rid of the Shaman. Is Heat Wave gonna land? It does, and Scizor goes down, and Aaron gets another 2-0 and goes joint top of the league with Latvian and his Miami Heat. So unlucky to Draco that his final match does end in defeat, but as I've said, I really hope we get to see him back in a future season in the British Pokemon League, and we do wish him all the best. But GG's to Aaron, GG's to Draco. Aaron, as I said there, just really proving the variety is to his team. Those 4, apart from the Bronzong and stuff, he's not really brought before, and that Turtonator actually ended up being, the sort of keys to the victory there. And real smart stuff. And I expect nothing else from our 2-times champion. But before we end the show, let's take a look at what that does to the league table. So as you can see there, the Miami Heat and Inglorious surface are both 3-0, both +6. So all leading up to their eventual showdown in week number 5. That's 2 weeks away, so you've got that to look forward to. But both unbeaten thus far and making such strong start. And Bully Boys moving themselves up to 3rd place with that win over the Shadow Kings. Welsh Warriors dropping down to 4th after that loss to the Miami Heat, but still, in a very good position. You only dropped a place. So the Goomys up to 5th now after that win over the Newcastle Thundurus. Thundurus dropping back down to 7th. And the Krimic Colossals has said this Colossals train keeps steaming on. Now up to 6th place after being in the bottom 4 for the first 2 weeks. And South Croydon Saurs just edging just slowly closer to that bottom 4, just tentatively, in 8th place, just on match difference. Dogsy Shadow Kings moving down to 9th. The Melmetals do at least improve a little bit. They're now a 1-2 record, getting that first win on the board. But Space City PC and the Rookidees with it all to do. We will see if that mysterious substitute coach can turn fortunes around before the mid-season free agency. But that is going to do it for this week's show, boys and girls. I hope you have had fun on this one and enjoyed it. I, of course, have, as I always do. I have been your host, Matt Starr. I hope you have a great night. Goodbye and good night. Mwah.